listeners, and welcome to this week's recording of Boomerang. Team 6 is here and is made up of our readers Heather, Margaret, Jessica, Marcy and Peter. Our usual engineer Gordon is unwell, and so John from Team 5 is kindly covering for him. The news this week is taken with permission from the West Lothian Courier, dated the 30th of May 2024. As usual, the news will be broken into 4 sections, and we will start with Section 1, General News. Front page of the Courier reads, "Help me ease Casey's pain. Mum is at wit's end," and it's an article by Debbie Hall. A mum whose disabled teenage daughter is in constant pain is pleading with West Lothian Council to give her a bigger house to accommodate specialist equipment. Andrea Thompson's daughter Casey was born 3 months premature. She has cerebral palsy and in the last few years has suffered from painful sclerosis. Andrea, who lives at Crawfoot Drive in Falthouse, says the 17-year-old's pain is getting worse and needs a specialist bed that won't fit into her bedroom. Andrea is also struggling to manoeuvre a larger wheelchair that Pinewood pupil Casey now uses, and fears her daughter gets older, the situation will become worse. Andrea said, "There isn't even space in her bedroom at present to turn her wheelchair. There's not adequate space for a hoist for her. I do have a hoist, but I'm having to hoist her over the base plate at the bottom of the bed. Her room is absolutely tiny." Andrea says her daughter needs increasing painkillers all the time and has appealed to the council, but is frustrated they won't even tell her where she is on the list for a house. She continued, "The council just say there's nothing, and when you get an email they say they don't respond to where you are on the waiting list. So they're basically not answering at all. There are bungalows getting built at Longridge by Cairn, which would have been perfect, but then I'm finding there are people who, fair enough, maybe do need to downsize, but they're fit and healthy and are getting bungalows. We've not been asking for a new house for that long, but it's the priority. Once Casey turns 18, she loses her bed and I have to reapply for it again, and she turns 18 in June. That's why it's so urgent. They wanted to get her this new bed before she leaves Children's Services and goes into adult, because then the purse strings get tightened and it's harder to get anything." A West Lothian Council spokesperson said, "We are aware of this case and have been working with the applicant to maximise their potential housing points. The applicant is currently a tenant of Cairn Housing Association and has a live application for housing with West Lothian Council. We are proactively working, as we do with all housing applicants, to ensure that the applicant has the maximum amount of points allocated to their application in line with our allocations policy. However, with a specific type of accommodation required in this instance, and over 11,000 people on the housing waiting list, there will be limited options within the Council's available housing stock." West Lothian Council announced a housing emergency, which is directly related to the critical shortage of accommodation in the area. While the housing service continues to await the opportunity of a suitable property to match the needs of the applicant, officers have also been working with the applicant to ensure they are assessing alternative housing options with their current landlord and the other local registered social landlords who may have a suitable property available before the council. And now over to Marcy.
Help us bag uniforms to make pupils proud. School Bank appeals for help for families in need. A West Lothian charity has launched a school uniform appeal to help ensure every child can go to school in August with their head held high. A school bank, West Lothian, is urging local people to help them provide school uniforms and other essentials for struggling families. The charity says not every child starts school in August with a new uniform, and this can profoundly impact their self-esteem. Their mission is to ensure that every child experiences the same sense of belonging as their classmates and can look forward to returning to school. A spokesperson said, "Over the past 8 years, our charity has supported over 8,000 families facing financial hardship, providing new uniforms, jackets, shoes and school bags. We collaborate with various community professionals such as schools, charities, social services, Women's Aid and the Advice Shop, who have referred over 2,000 young people to us in the past year alone, and demand is rising every year. A new uniform can significantly reduce the risk of bullying, bolster self-confidence, foster a sense of inclusion, and improve school attendance. That's why we're launching the appeal for donations of new and gently used uniforms, ensuring every child in West Lothian feels valued and accepted at school. There are many ways to help. You can register for a Sponsor a Child and buy a uniform pack, and you'll be sent the details of items required for a child who has been referred, typically 3 to 6 items. After purchasing the items, drop them off, and the charity will arrange a delivery to the family. You can fill a bag with vital school supplies such as socks, tights, pencil case, stationery and a water bottle. After you've packed your bag, you could use a school bag or drawstring out gym bag. Simply drop it off at one of the numerous red drop-off points across West Lothian, conveniently situated in various supermarkets and community establishments. You can also make a donation. For example, £18 could buy a 5-pack of white shirts for a teenager. £45 would buy a pair of school shoes and jacket. The cost of full uniform pack is £140, although all donations are gratefully received. The charity also accepts good quality pre-used uniforms that still have plenty of life in them, including jackets, except items with school badges, blazers or kilts. Items can also be dropped off into one of the red drop-off points. For further details, email admin@schoolbank-westlothian.org or visit https://schoolbank@westlothian.org. There's 2 pictures, one of 3 girls holding up lots of little rucksacks and another picture of a girl with some shoes, a jacket, a skirt and a shirt. Over to Jessica.
Council flag at half-mast for Stuart. Sadness as councillor passes away. An article by Debbie Hall. Tributes have been paid to Councillor Stuart Borman, who has died after decades of devoted work for his community. It's understood Councillor Borman suffered a stroke on Wednesday and later sadly passed away. His colleagues at the council have been remembering him fondly, and the council's flag was flown at half-mast as a mark of respect. He also played a leading role on the committees of Armadale and Blackridge, Westrigg and West Craig's Children's Gala Day. Blackridge Gala was on Saturday and a minute's silence was held in his memory. Councillor Borman would have led the parade and his absence was sorely felt. Committee members also paid tribute to him on Facebook, posting, "Today is a very sad day for our community with the passing of Councillor Stuart Borman." The Gala Day Committee are devastated. Stuart was the heart of the committee, always with the best advice for everyone. Thoughts are with the Borman family at this very sad time. He will be sadly missed by all who knew him. Members of Armadale's Gala Committee also paid tribute to Councillor Borman. They said, "As a committee, we are deeply saddened at the passing of our beloved President, Councillor Stuart Borman. Stuart was well known for his involvement in Armadale Gala Day and took his pride of place for many years at the front of the parade, leading the way. This is an extremely sad time and our thoughts are with Aileen and family." After speaking with Stuart's family, they have advised that they want Armadale Gala Day to go ahead as planned, and as a committee we feel we want to make Stuart proud by having all the hard work come together. Councillor Borman represented the Armadale and Blackridge ward on West Lothian Council and served as an independent councillor. He had been a councillor since 2003 when he was first elected to represent the Eastern ward on West Lothian Council. He was chair of the Development Management Committee and served on numerous other committees. Provost Cathy Muldoon was just one of Mr Borman's colleagues who paid tribute to him. She said, "I'm very sad to hear Councillor Borman's passing. Stuart was, without a doubt, an incredibly hard-working councillor, intelligent, articulate and driven. His work ethic and commitment to his area and his constituents was there for everyone to see. I know how highly respected Stuart was within the council and within his local community. I'd like to offer my sincere condolences to his family and close friends at this sad time." Leader of West Lothian Council, Lawrence Fitzpatrick, said, "I'm extremely saddened by Stuart's passing. I have known him for 30 years and he was a big personality and a very popular local councillor. It is hard to imagine the council without him. He was devoted to all of the communities within the Armadale and Blackridge ward, and his wealth of local government experience served West Lothian in so many different ways. Stuart will be fondly remembered for his leading role on both Armadale and Blackridge, West Rig and West Craig's Children's Gala Day committees, but his influence went much further. He was involved in so much, and this all came from his love of his local area. He was also a published author, writing about what he loved most, his village. He was a proud Blackridge boy, and it is very poignant that the Blackridge Gala Day takes place this weekend, an event Stuart loved and was so influential in organising. His other loves were Hearts Football Club, Armadale Thistle, and of course his family, who he was so proud of. On behalf of everyone at West Lothian Council, I'd like to extend my sincere condolences to his wife Aileen and family at this very sad time." And leading on from that, there's a special 4-page section in the Courier of the Blackridge Gala Day, which took place. There's a little article to accompany it. Gala Day season kicked off in style at the weekend with Blackridge, West Rig and West Craig's Gala. Usually held on a Sunday, it's the first year the event was held on a Saturday, and what a day it was. Hundreds of folk lined the streets to watch the parade, and this year's theme for local schools was the novels of Roald Dahl. While the day was a great success, it was tinged with sadness following the death of Councillor Stuart Borman last week, who would have led the parade. The Gala Day Committee would like to thank each and every one of you that came along and made the gala a great day. There's numerous photographs of the gala parade, lots of children and adults in all shapes and sizes and guises. There's Oompa Loompas and Willy Wonkas. There's also the pipe band leading off the parade, which let me see, apart from them playing music, there seems to be an ABBA tribute band playing music. So on the whole, it looks as if everyone had a brilliant time, and it was a fitting tribute to Councillor Borman. Over to Margaret.
Kerry opens the door to the home that she has been fighting to get for 20 years. This is an article by Stuart Somerville. Ghostly State campaigner Kerry McIntosh last week turned the key in the front door of the new home she fought for 20 years for. On the doorstep with children Jared and Rebecca, Kerry spoke to the local Democracy Reporting Service just 20 months after she had witnessed the demolition of the crumbling RAAC, that's RAC, roofed home she'd struggled to maintain as her family grew up. She said, "I've waited 20 years for this. I finally got a new home. Thanks to Springfield. I finally got a new home. The troops have done a fantastic job." As she turned the keys, an emotional Kerry, who had fought back the emotion from her arrival in the street, gave in to tears. "Thank you, I'm so happy," she told the assembled group of Springfield staff, including Sandy Adam, the Springfield chairman, and Tom Leggett, MD of Springfield Partnerships. Kerry had led a group of 9 homeowners left in what had become Livingston's ghosty estate on Deans South after West Lothian Council condemned the estate and moved all the tenants out in 2004 when Spirex or RAC concrete roofing was branded dangerous. Unable to move, Kerry remained on the site to fight for a fair deal for herself and the remaining homeowners. It was the start of a long campaign for proper compensation, a home for a home. That was finally agreed in June
2023, when Springfield signed a deal to provide 55 new homes on the Dean's South estate, clearing the ghostly state of the decaying cracked-roofed houses. Of the 55 new homes, 46 will be affordable lets and 9 will go to Kerry and her former homeowner neighbours, including Isabel Baxter, widow of fellow Dean South campaigner Joe Baxter, who died last month. All of the homeowners will have the keys to their new homes by the end of the month. Kerry continued, "I'm happy, nervous and excited. The moving teams are very compassionate and caring of the homeowners. I'm the second homeowner to move in. I'll see Isabel around the corner. I'm sad Joe's not here. There will be a tribute for him." She added, "The whole team at Springfield have been amazing. They have been an enormous support over the last 8 years and have been determined to find a way forward when we were all frustrated and things seemed bleak. A safe and secure home in a thriving community is all I've ever wanted, and we're finally in a position to make this happen. I can't wait to get settled into my new home." Joining Kerry on the doorstep, Hannah Burdell, who was an MP at the time, said, "It's an incredibly emotional day. I'm delighted for Kerry and the homeowners in Dean South. When I got elected in 2015, this was one of the things that I absolutely wanted to see sorted. I remember coming down and seeing folk living in slum houses and being shocked. We contacted lots of developers. No one was interested. Springfield was the only one that wanted to come to the party and give people a house for a house. And I'm delighted with everything they have done. And I'm grateful to the council as well and the council officers that we have worked with." She added, "There's obviously a responsibility to be born there as well. But at the end of the day, we all had to work together to make it happen. These folk have a new house and it's a new start." Mr. Leggett said, "Handing the keys to brand new homes to the people that have lived in an abandoned estate for so many years marks a momentous moment in the story of Dean South. We are incredibly proud to have played a pivotal part in delivering high quality and energy efficient homes that the community deserve." Along with the article, there's quite a few photos. There's one of Kerry standing at her new door crying. There's one of her welcoming her children home. And there's one alongside the staff of Springfield and the Hannah Bardell. Over to Peter.
Fury as Fieldhouse plan is approved. What hero site can be used? Plans to build on a field dedicated to the fallen heroes of the First World War have been backed by the Scottish Government to the anger of locals. The site where many former soldiers had their ashes scattered had been gifted to the people of Bathgate, but can now be redeveloped for housing despite West Lothian Council refusing the plans. The decision by the Holyrood-appointed planning appeal reporter provoked fury from the local Labour councillor Harry Cartmel. TM Land Purchases had their application for planning permission in principle to develop the site on the fringe of the Bathgate Hills rejected by the Development Management Committee in January. Councillor Cartmel said that granting planning permission could see more than 50 homes crammed onto the hillside site, which used to be home to the town's war memorial next to Napier Avenue. He said, "The application should never have happened as the council sold off this land, gifted as common good by the churches in 1924 to the World War I injured veterans. Veterans' cottages and adjoining streets were built to house First World War veterans as part of the memorial site. The war memorial stood overlooking the town until the mid-1990s, when it was moved to a site next to St John's Church in the town to make it easier to visit." Councillor Cartmel said the reporter had the powers of a dictator and the Scottish Government was acting like an authoritarian state. He said it will be environmental vandalism in the extreme, with the foxes, bats, deer and badgers with their sets on Badger Now, located slap bang in the middle of this area, now facing their habitat being destroyed forever. The site is grossly inadequate for development in so many ways. Entrances and exits are far too narrow, and housing Napier and Academy Place will now be blighted by traffic, causing serious road safety issues. In his findings, the reporter said that the number of homes built could be conditioned by West Lothian Council. He did not believe that access to the site up steep, narrow roads would be problematic. He added, concerns are raised by the council and in representations in relation to the overdevelopment of the site based on the number of units shown on the appellant's illustrative layout. Whilst the appellant has submitted an illustrative layout, the description of the appeal proposal does not include and therefore seeks approval for a specific number of units for the site at this time. He added, a total of 67 representations, including one from Bathgate Community Council, were received to the appeal proposal, raising concerns in terms of it not being in accordance with the LDP site capacity, density, loss of green space and environmental impact, impact on wildlife, traffic, access, road safety and parking, impact on education provision, drainage impacts and impact on healthcare facilities. The reporter said the issue of common good was not something he could consider and added, I note the concerns raised regarding the land related to the former site of the Bathgate World War I Memorial and the issues of common good and ownership. Whilst I recognise these are important matters for the local community, they are not valid material planning considerations. Therefore, it is not possible to take these matters into account in the determination of this planning appeal. And back to Heather.
And that brings us to the end of part 1. And welcome back to part 2, which includes this week's intimations. Watch Parade online. Bathgate Procession will be streamed live online this weekend for the first time. This year marks the 180th anniversary of the event, and Bathgate bairns from all over will have the opportunity to watch and enjoy the festivities. Condor Entertainment will be covering all the favourites from Procession Day, Oration and Arch Dedication. Visit https://www.youtube.com/@Condor Entertainment 8064/streams. Now over to Marcy.
Demand for answers on empty dental surgery. A dental surgery space has yet to see its first patient or even dentist in a West Lothian village 6 years after it opened. And the former doctor's surgery in the village has been badly vandalised with fires set in the building. Both issues were highlighted by local councillors with pleas to the NHS and local police to help improve facilities in the village centre in Blackburn. Addressing a meeting of full West Lothian Council in Livingston, Councillor Kirstine Sullivan, the deputy leader and a ward member for Blackburn, told fellow councillors that since the new partnership building opened in the village in 2018, despite space set aside, a dental practice has never been secured at the centre, leaving local residents to travel out with the village to Bathgate, Whitburn and beyond to access vital dental services. Councillor Sullivan said, with a dedicated space in the heart of the community, Blackburn residents should have access to a dentist within the village. She added, the council understands that the process for securing a dental practice has been delayed for various reasons, including the COVID-19 pandemic. Councillor Sullivan's motion called on the Chief Executive to write to Jenny Young, the Director of Primary Care for NHS Lothian, to request a detailed plan and timescales for the delivery of a dental practice to meet the needs of the community. The profession has highlighted a long-standing shortage of NHS dentists in Scotland, with the numbers being recruited not matching those leaving the profession, leading to difficulties finding appointments and long waiting times. This issue might persist unless significant recruitment and retention strategies are implemented. Access to NHS dentistry varies. Rural areas and poor communities often face the biggest challenges. The pandemic disrupted dental services and created a backlog of patients needing treatment, which is still being worked through. Dentists say there is a potential for improvement. The revised payment system introduced last November could act as an incentive for dentists to take on NHS patients and make it more financially viable to offer a wider range of treatments within the NHS. Over to Jessica.
Cops urged to keep on top of crime in holidays. Councillors call for reassurance. An article by Stuart Somerville. Councillors in a West Lothian town have asked for police reassurances that there will be no resurgence in youth antisocial behaviour come the summer months. The call at Linlithgow's local area committee came after police released figures showing calls about youth and antisocial behaviour had more than halved in the first 3 months of the year. Figures to March 31 for the ward showed that there had been 35 antisocial behaviour calls made to the police and 19 youth calls in 3 months. This compares to 86 and 64 in the previous quarter, covering October the 1st to December the 31st, 2023. Councillors want that trend to continue as the summer holidays loom. In 5 weeks across the last quarter, there were no calls to police regarding either youth disorder or antisocial behaviour. Councillor Pauline Orr asked Constable Robert Montague if the weeks which had shown the highest number of calls, the highest week was 7 for antisocial behaviour, was during a school holiday. The constable said he didn't have that information. He said the volume of calls has dropped considerably and that has resulted in 0 calls on certain weeks in the quarter. The youth calls are lower than anywhere else in West Lothian. This is down to continued high visibility patrols by officers. Councillor Orr asked, can we have some assurance that with the upcoming school holidays we are going to see an ongoing police presence in the ward? It would be good to know. If there's going to be a spike over the summer holidays, that may be an indication that police could maybe consider a bit more presence in Linlithgow, if that could be accommodated. She added, last year over the holidays we were dealing with hate crime and incidents of antisocial behaviour as well. Councillor Sally Pattle, chairing the meeting, said the multi-agency format of addressing issues had been really productive. After problems last autumn, we did all come together. In the figures, we are seeing huge impact. Do you have something in place as we get to the summer holiday? Are you aware of something happening or things in place for the summer? Constable Montague replied, there will always be community patrols throughout the county. Obviously, there may be areas that have higher volumes, but that's not to say Linlithgow won't have active patrols. There are 2 officers based in the area and they are active. Phyllis McFadgen, the local housing manager, told the meeting that her staff met with police and other agencies on a weekly basis and any antisocial behaviour issues raised could be brought up with officers. PC Montague said community officers would devote as much time as possible to providing presence in the town. He highlighted to councillors that the ward community team are also responsible for patrols in Broxburn, Winchborough and Uphall. Police responded after a public meeting was held in Linlithgow in November. Councillors criticised senior commanders for stalling in meeting with them to discuss proposals to increase patrols. The number of high visibility patrols was stepped up along with dual patrols working alongside British Transport Police, something which has since been rolled out across West Lothian. The step up by officer patrols saw a drop in calls in the last 3 months of 2023 and that trend has continued since January. Officers have also engaged with the local Linlithgow Young People's Project, which is based in the Vennel and provides a youth centre and activities for local teens and through schools in the ward. The photograph to accompany the article is of a police car and it says, after complaints, high visibility patrol in Linlithgow were stepped up last autumn. And back to Heather.
And now for this week's intimations. John Gherkins, peacefully in Crosshouse Hospital on Friday the 17th of May 2024. John, a beloved husband of Anne-Marie and much-loved dad to John William. John will be received into St Mary's Star of the Sea on Monday the 3rd of June at 6 p.m, with a funeral mass being held on Tuesday the 4th of June at 10 a.m. Thereafter to Brisbane Glen Cemetery for 11:15 a.m, to which all are respectfully invited. Family flowers only, but donations in lieu, if desired, to the Vincent de Paul Society. Joyce Kathleen Laird, née Thompson, from East Calder. Peacefully at Kirk Lane Care Home, Livingston Village, on May the 19th, 2024, Joy's beloved wife of the late Matthew Stewart, loving mum to Paul, Stuart, Colin, Anne, Matthew and Alison, grandmother to Paul, Karen, Craig, Darren, Emma, Becky, Amy and Kerry, and great-grandmother to Reuben, Oliver, Poppy, Jess, Zoe, Harry and Alvie. Funeral to take place at West Lothian Crematorium, Livingston, on Friday the 7th of June at 11 a.m. Family flowers only, please, and donations can be made on retiral to Dementia Scotland. William or Billy Livingston, up Paul and Craigshill. Peacefully passed away at home on Tuesday the 14th of May 2024, aged 73 years. A loving dad, papa and brother, will be sorely missed by all. The funeral service was held at West Lothian Crematorium on Friday the 31st of May at 1 p.m. Ian Archibald Mackay. It is with great sadness that the family of Mr. Ian Archibald Mackay announces his passing on the 8th of May 2024 at the age of 82. He was a loving husband to the late Elizabeth Mackay and also a devoted father and grandfather. The funeral will take place at West Lothian Crematorium on Wednesday the 5th of June 2024 at 11 a.m. And now over to Margaret.
This section is about the award ceremony, the Pride of Scotland, which was held, it's a ceremony that's held by the Daily Record. The host was Elaine C. Smith and Sanjay Kohli. And there's various photographs of all the celebrities, but also the people who won awards. And there's a wide range of award winners. So Peter and I are going to read out some of the winners. Friendship that raised £300,000. And the pals who met at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow are not done yet. TSB community heroes Molly Cuddy and Sarah Miller. Pair who forged a powerful friendship as girls while being treated for cancer have together gone on to raise £300,000 to support child's patients. Molly and Sarah used their own experiences to raise money and lobby for better services for younger patients. They met while they were both undergoing life-saving cancer treatment in 2017. Molly, now 21, and Sarah, 20, started chatting in a special teenage common room at the Royal Hospital for Children in Glasgow. Molly had spent a year at the hospital being treated for metastatic Ewing sarcoma, a rare form of bone cancer, and Sarah was suffering from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. When they saw a 12-year-old boy being asked to leave the space because he wasn't a teenager, they realised that patients in his age group needed somewhere to call their own. They launched the Every Thank You Counts campaign and raised £300,000 to create a new recovery and social room, furnished with comfy chairs, a pool table, TVs, games consoles, a dining table and a fridge stocked with treats. The fund also paid for special reclining chairs and a ward blood analyset, which means quicker on-site blood testing for children, reducing anxious waits and time spent in hospital. Their next project will focus on the paediatric intensive care unit. Jamie Redfern, Director of Women's and Children's Services at NHS Greater Glasgow and Clyde, said, "The work Molly and Sarah continue to do is of huge value to all patients, their relatives or carers and our staff. They will always have a special place here at the Royal Hospital. And over to Peter.
Under the heading of Meet the Winners, and a special section on special recognition. An article and it's about a person called John Aitchison. Firefighter was so moved by the plight of earthquake victims in Nepal, he returned to provide aid and set up Everest's first fire and rescue service. John was deployed to Nepal immediately after the earthquake in 2015 as part of UKISAR, the British government's international search and rescue team. He had been at natural disasters all over the world, but nothing prepared him for what he saw in Nepal, where more than 9,000 people died and 25,000 were injured. After returning home to Gourdon in Aberdeenshire, John was so deeply moved he vowed to go back. Since 2015, he has made multiple trips to Nepal, taking repurposed fire kit and humanitarian aid, as well as training local emergency responders. Earlier this year, the dad of two, who spends his free time fundraising for Nepal, went back for the foundation of Everest Fire and Rescue Service, which he helped set up. It is the first fire and rescue service at the airstrip, serving the world's highest peak. Last February, John was on the ground after the earthquake in Turkey, which claimed more than 50,000 lives. He also helps firefighters in Scotland as a peer group for mental health within the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. He said, "I now talk openly about my mental health and experiences with PTSD in the hope I can help other firefighters who are struggling to realise it's okay not to be okay." John added, "The earthquake in Nepal changed me forever. It had a huge psychological impact. As I felt frustrated, I could not have done more. I vowed to return to try to make a difference." And alongside the article, there's a wee picture of John carrying some of his equipment. And back to Margaret.
This article is about two teenagers of courage, Caelan Donald and Abby Jarvis. Schoolgirl victims of sickening attacks by other children bravely waived their anonymity to back a campaign to support victims of youth violence. Caelan, 13, was brutally attacked on a school bus by a group of bullies as she travelled home from class at Bell Baxter High School in Ladybank Fife in October. Despite telling her parents the ordeal had left her feeling suicidal, Caelan's parents were warned by the GP she faced a wait of between 6 and 12 months before receiving specialist support. She finally got an appointment 19 months later. She is one of more than 5,000 Scottish children and young people on waiting lists for children and adolescent mental health services, with 147 waiting over a year. Mum Vicky said, "I have done everything that I can do as a parent. I have gone to the GP, waited on the CAMS, that's Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services assessment, and I'm taking all the advice that I can. We don't have anywhere else to turn." Abby Jarvis, now 14, was lured to a park in Glasgow in October 2022 and beaten unconscious as other kids filmed the attack on their phones. After she was brought home by another parent, her mum, Angela, said she was covered in blood, falling in and out of consciousness. She couldn't even speak. It was horrific to see, and it nearly broke me. Even now, I can't bring myself to think of her lying there during that beating and waiting for it to stop. Both girls were pictured as part of the Daily Record's Our Kids, Our Future campaign, set up to help tackle youth violence and call for more support for victims. And back to Peter.
Under the heading Outstanding Bravery, an article covering the gentleman Asif Iqbal. Heroic dad risked his life to save a driver from a burning car just seconds before it was engulfed in flames. Asif, 43, was driving to work along the A919 near RAF Lookers in Fife when two cars crashed in front of him. As a blaze broke out, he and three other motorists, including military personnel from the base, rushed from their cars to see what they could do. Asif dragged the occupant of one of the vehicles to safety, just as the motor caught fire during the incident in 2022. He said the fire surrounded the cars quite fast. We sat the guy down on the pavement. Before we knew it, the whole car was engulfed in flames. Both cars burned out really, really bad. We were all in total shock. It was pretty extreme. The road was closed for 3 hours and 3 casualties were taken to hospital. Asif, a scientist, added, "I've got 3 kids and I was thinking about what people would do if this had happened to me. Life is so fragile and this was very scary. You don't leave the house to go to work thinking you're going to be pulling someone from a burning car. But things happen and everybody has to chip in and do their part to help." And alongside the article there's a picture of Asif. And back to Margaret.
This is another special recognition. It's the RNLI at 200. It's the 200th anniversary year the RNLI is still saving lives at sea and is needed more than ever off the shores of Scotland. This year the RNLI celebrated 200 years and more than 145,000 lives saved at sea. In 2 centuries of service, 2 things remain at the core of this vital organisation: its reliance on selfless volunteers and public donations to fund their work. Crews across Scotland alone have launched over 45,000 times and during that time saved 11,000 lives. On November 25th, 2012, Ben Thompson was one of the lives saved. Jet skiing with friends, the weather turned and Ben and his friend Gavin ended up in the water, their jet skis sinking. Battling freezing temperatures and brutal waves, they eventually contemplated giving up the fight. Ben said, "We're thinking maybe it's our time and how do we make this easy?" But we just kept thinking about the kids and our wives at home. A helicopter flew overhead and missed them. Then, after 5 hours in the water, as they waited to die, they saw the lights of the rescue boats and were pulled to safety by the RNLI. Ben said, "The lights started heading towards us and the feeling was amazing to know someone had found us. Then the big RNLI boat pulled upside of us." Within months, Ben started volunteering at Broughty Ferry, Scotland's busiest RNLI station. Alongside 6 crew members who had spent 5 hours searching for him that day, Ben has launched on almost 100 rescues and been instrumental in the saving 5 lives himself. And back to Peter.
Another article entitled "Child of Courage." And the child in question is Caleb Stirrett. Youngster diagnosed with terminal cancer is the inspiration behind a charity helping other families with desperately ill children. Caleb is a triplet. He and sisters Poppy and Alicia were born prematurely at 27 weeks after his parents underwent IVF. In 2019 he was diagnosed with a rare atypical teratoid rhabdoid tumour which has a less than 50-50 chance of survival. He had proton beam therapy in the United States, but the tumour returned in 2020 and his parents were told it was terminal. Caleb, now 8, has helped his parents launch a charity to support other families facing palliative care for their children. Caleb's Trio of Hope has already raised £24,000. Mum Karen from Clydebank says, "We have a fund to help families create memories with their child and also provide support when they have passed away. We're always going to be there down the line." After an operation to remove his tumour, Caleb has been treated with a trial drug and his condition remains stable. Karen says, "We can't believe how far he's come. I'm not going to say it's not hard because some days you're so tired you're in tears, but he is remarkable in everything he does and achieves." There is a picture of Caleb with a smashing smile, and another picture of Caleb with his two sisters and his mum and his dad. And back to Heather.
And that brings us to the end of part 2. Welcome back to part 3, which includes the quiz. Remember to listen in at the start of part 4 for the answers. So we'll start with this week's pub quiz. And the first question is, what is a weight on a pendulum or plumb line called? Is it A, a bob, B, a pendulum, or C, a weight? Question 2. Which coastal village in Cornwall has the ruins of a castle reputed to be the court of King Arthur? Is it A, Tintagel, B, Padstow, or C, St Ives? Question 3. What is the small target ball used in bowls called? A, the queen, B, the king, C, the jack. Question 4. What name is given to the offence of marrying someone while married to someone else? A, polygamy, B, bigamy, C, adultery. Question 5. Which atoll in the Pacific Ocean gave its name to a two-piece bathing costume? A, Tahiti, B, Bikini, or C, Fiji? And lastly, question 6. Which former British liner is a tourist attraction in Long Beach, California? A, Titanic, B, the Queen Mary, or C, Britannia? And now over to Marcy.
Council has no plan for compulsory job losses. Leader confirms forced redundancies ruled out. This is an article by Stuart Somerville. West Lothian Council has no plans to introduce compulsory redundancies during the lifetime of the current administration. Despite an ever-tightening squeeze on budgets and stripping back of services, the Council has so far been able to avoid compulsory redundancies by using a policy of voluntary redundancy and redeployment. The Council leader told a meeting that compulsory redundancies would only be considered if the scale of job cuts demanded could not be accommodated by existing policies. At this month's meeting of the full council, independent councillor Stuart Borman asked, will the present political administration sustain its policy of no compulsory redundancies until May 2027? Council leader Lawrence Fitzpatrick answered, despite the budget position over a number of years and the requirement for the Council to make necessary savings, the Council has been able to maintain a position of no compulsory redundancies due in part to the provision of the workforce management policy and procedure, and it is our intention to continue this arrangement. Councillor Fitzpatrick outlined both early retirement and redeployment procedures. He said, decisions to grant are informed by demonstrable benefits to the Council, both in terms of total cost and service implications, quality and relevance of the business case made, and the interests of the employees concerned, balanced with the interests of the Council. The redeployment procedure provides a means of identifying, wherever possible, suitable alternative employment for employees who have been displaced from their jobs as a result of the organisational change process. A search for suitable alternative employment will be undertaken for a period of up to 9 months from the implementation date of the new structure. He added, the Council has been successful in managing the implications of organisation through ERVS and redeployment. The Council leader explained that compulsory redundancy would only be introduced in circumstances where the Council is required to reduce the workforce of such a scale that redeployment and other voluntary measures are insufficient to achieve the reductions. The Council Executive approved a draft redundancy procedure to deal with this type of scenario. In a written answer, Councillor Fitzpatrick added, this draft redundancy procedure has been retained as a contingency measure in the event that the Council is faced with budgetary pressures of such severity that compulsory redundancy cannot be avoided. Any decision to invoke its implementation would require separate approval from the Council Executive. Responding to the answers, Councillor Borman said, "I'd just like to say it is a well-written and suitably cautious response from Councillor Fitzpatrick. I am grateful for that." Over to Jessica.
Campaign warns of scammers as public fleeced out of £60,000. An article by Debbie Hall. West Lothian residents are among those to have lost almost £60,000 in just 6 months, new figures from Consumer Watchdogs reveal. Trading Standards Scotland, TSS, has urged vigilance amid a surge in doorstep scams, missold services and botched household repairs. The organisation has launched a nationwide Shut Out Scammers campaign with Police Scotland that is designed to raise awareness about the risks of accepting work offered by cold callers. Experts said that fraudsters are adapting their tactics to exploit the cost of living crisis, including making bogus claims to be working on behalf of the government with fake subsidy offers. Criminals often employ online and social media ads featuring misleading information and reviews. The warning follows increasing reports of incomplete or unsatisfactory roofing, gardening or driveway work. The scam artists charged up front before either leaving without completing the work or not starting at all. Shocking examples include a West Lothian woman charged £700 for 90 minutes of tree cutting by a cold caller. TSS stressed the importance of conducting thorough research into companies before agreeing any work. Visit the Approved Trader portal at www.approvedtrader.scot. And over to Margaret.
Butchers are a cut above. This is an article regarding an award at the Scottish Business Awards. Staff at Boghall Butchers are delighted to announce another award to add to their trophy cabinet. The popular butcher shop was named Best Butcher at Scotland's Business Awards. Owner Paul Boyle said staff have been even more reason to celebrate the store's 50th anniversary this year. Adding, myself, Christine and Marisha would like to say a massive thanks to everyone who took the time to place their vote for our business. We will go into our 50th year in business with a huge smile on our faces. Thank you to everyone who makes this possible on a daily basis. And over to Peter.
Treat Dad to a fantastic £600 makeover prize. Father's Day is fast approaching, and to celebrate, the Centre Livingston is giving one lucky dad the chance to win a fantastic makeover and gifts worth over £600. The prize includes a £150 gift card to spend at the shopping centre on a new summer wardrobe, a £40 voucher to spend in Menkind, a tasty lunch for two at Wagamama, a £200 voucher to spend at the Jewellers Barclays, and some extra special surprises on the day. To help pick the perfect outfit, the winner will have the chance to enjoy a personal shopping experience with stylist Caroline Phipps, who will be giving away lots of fashion tips and insights into the latest trends. Caroline, who is also a yoga teacher, began her fashion career with style icon Mary Portas and has worked with clients including Christian Lacroix, Models One, Thomas Pink, Ellie Clothing, and was also involved in the Jerwood Fashion Prize, where she worked with judges Alexander McQueen and Amanda Harlich. She's been a media fashion stylist for various publications like GQ Magazine, Women's Journal, Closer Magazine and Women's Own, and has worked with many celebrities over the past 20 years, including Davina McCall and Jerry Hall. If you know a super dad you'd like to enter into the competition, email inquiries at thecentrelivingston, that's all the one word, .com, and tell us why they should win by 9 a.m. on Monday, June the 10th. Patrick Roberts, director at the centre, said, "This is a fantastic opportunity for us to treat a lucky dad at Centre Livingston with a makeover and personal shopping experience, lunch for two and some gifts too. If you know someone who could benefit from a lovely day out, drop us an email and tell us why, and we'll give them a very special day to remember. The winner must be available on Monday, June the 17th at 11 a.m. for the makeover and photo shoot. Full Terms and conditions at www.thecentrelivingston.com. Back to Heather.
Payrow strike fears. West Lothian Council workers could trigger a summer of strike action on the eve of the general election unless they receive an improved pay offer, a union has warned. Care staff employed by local authorities across the country are threatening to walk out 24 hours before voters go to the polls on July the 4th. GMB Scotland said its members were being balloted on industrial action, with the first possible strike day falling on July the 3rd. It comes after COSLA, which represents councils, tabled a two-stage pay offer which runs for 18 months. It gives a 2% increase for the first 6 months and an additional 2% for a further 12 months. Unison has also recommended its members should vote to reject the deal, meaning a second wave of strike action could follow. Louise Gilmore, GMB Scotland Secretary, said, "This election, like all the others, is about promises of a better tomorrow, but those promises do not pay our members' bills today." A Scottish Government spokesman said, "The Scottish Government urges all parties involved to work together constructively and reach an agreement which is fair for the workforce and affordable for employers." Now over to Marcy.
Roll up, the circus is coming to town. Debbie Hall. The circus is coming to town to delight kids of all ages. The Centre, Livingston, is welcoming the Big Kids Circus to the shopping centre for the first time. Packed with a fantastic variety of performances by talented acrobats, trapeze artists, daredevils and clowns until Saturday the 2nd of June. The show by the circus company, which was started in 2005 by talented acrobatic performers Bilyana and Kirill Kirillov, is entitled Eliminations and is currently on tour around the UK. It features a host of exciting performances by artists from around the world, including Europe's only all-female motorbike stunt riders inside a mesh sphere ball and heartwarming comedy by twin brothers Rolando and Matraquita from Mexico under the big tent spotlight situated behind Primark. Gary Anderson, operations manager at the Centre Livingston, said, "We are delighted to welcome the Big Kids Circus to the Centre Livingston for the first time. The Illumination show will be a big hit with our visitors of all ages, whether you are a circus fan or new to it, with lots of brilliant performances guaranteed to leave a lasting impression. For tickets and more information, check out Eventbrite and Itison." Over to Jessica.
Thousands in jewellery and clothes stolen in house raid. Thieves raided a family home and made off with £5,000 worth of jewellery and clothes worth £2,000. Officers are appealing for information following a housebreaking at a property in the Appleton Drive area of Livingston. The incident happened between 12:50am and 1am on Saturday, May the 18th. Jewellery worth around £5,000 and a black Canada Goose jacket, a grey Canada Goose Garson gilet and a black Canada Goose down gilet worth around £2,500 were taken. Detective Constable Matt Moran said, "Our inquiries to trace those responsible are ongoing. We are keen to speak to 3 people seen in a dark-coloured SUV with distinctive alloy wheels in the area just after midnight. In addition, we are asking anyone who saw anything suspicious to get in touch. We are also asking people to check private CCTV and dashcam to see if there is anything that could help our investigation. Anyone who can assist is asked to call Police Scotland on 101, quoting incident number 3930 on Sunday the 19th of May 2024. Over to Margaret.
This is another awards ceremony, Entertainment and Hospitality Awards. 5 sisters voted best for Day Out. An article by Debbie Hall. A popular West Lothian Zoo and Conservation Centre has been voted the best day out for the whole family in Scotland. Five Sisters Zoo has been named the best family day out at the 12th edition of the Scottish Entertainment and Hospitality Awards. The ceremony, presented in association with Molson Coors, took place at the Doubletree by Hilton, Glasgow. The event celebrated excellence within Scotland's hospitality industry, recognising establishments that excel in providing outstanding experiences for their patrons. Originally established as a garden centre by landscape gardener Brian Curran and his wife Shirley, Five Sisters Zoo evolved into a sanctuary for unwanted pets, eventually becoming an attraction for visitors. Officially founded in 2005, the zoo has grown to accommodate over 180 different species of mammals, birds and reptiles, including rescued bears and lions formerly part of travelling circuses. Accredited by the British and Irish Association of Zoos and Aquariums, Five Sisters Zoo is dedicated to the conservation of endangered wildlife, both native and non-native species. Last year, Five Sisters Zoo committed to the rescue and rehabilitation of Yampel, an Asiatic black bear rescued from an abandoned zoo in Ukraine amid the devastation of war. Despite facing significant challenges, including a funding gap of £90,000 for a specialised enclosure, the zoo has rallied support from the community to ensure Yampel's well-being. Construction of his permanent home is underway, with completion expected by the summer. Brian Curran, co-founder of Five Sisters Zoo, said, "Receiving the Best Family Day Out award at the Scottish Entertainment and Hospitality Awards is a tremendous honour for us. It reaffirms our mission to provide families with meaningful experiences while fostering a deep appreciation for wildlife and conservation. We are grateful for the support of our visitors and community, and we remain devoted to the well-being of the animals in our care." Warren Paul, CEO and founder of the Scottish Entertainment and Hospitality Awards, said, "Five Sisters Zoo's dedication to wildlife conservation and providing an exceptional experience for visitors sets a remarkable standard within the hospitality industry. Their commitment to animal welfare, coupled with their innovative approach to conservation efforts, makes them a deserving recipient of the Best Family Day Out award. We applaud their tireless efforts and look forward to seeing their continued impact on both local communities and the wider conservation landscape. For more information about Five Sisters Zoo and its conservation efforts, visit fivesisterszoo.co.uk, or to make a donation to the Yampel fundraising appeal, please visit fivesisterszoo.co.uk/Yampel, the Bear Rescue Fund. And there's a photograph of Brian and Shirley Curran and Vito Giambiastini. And over to Peter.
Council admits it can't afford to pick up cut grass clippings. The cost and effort involved in clearing up cut grass makes it impossible for West Lothian Council, an official has admitted. As climate change and service cutback sees longer grass and more complaints in councillors' inboxes across the county, a council nets officer outlined the logistics and costs. It's an unhappy combination of hotter and wetter summers and fewer resources to tackle vegetation. Pat McArdle from Whitehill Service Centre gave the quarterly update on his department's work to councillors. He said, "We did a pilot scheme in an area of Whitburn about 15 years ago, where it took 9 hours to cut the grass and 3 machines going in for 3 hours each. To add cut and lift, it took 31 hours. We took 6 tonnes of material back to the depot then. We have not got the infrastructure to do it, to cut and lift everywhere across all 9 wards. The amount of grass we've got, it would be prohibitive." Mr McArdle added, "We have reduced the amount of cuts down to 12, as the service level agreements have been agreed. Is 12 enough? I don't think so. I don't know. We have not got the resources to do any more." And back to Heather.
And that brings us to the end of part 3. Welcome back to part 4. We will start with the answers to the quiz and finish with sport. So, back to the pub quiz and question 1. What is the weight on a pendulum or plumb line called? The answer is A, a bob. Question 2. Which coastal village in Cornwall has the ruins of a castle reputed to be the court of King Arthur? The answer is A, Tintagel. Question 3. What is the small target ball used in bowls called? The answer is C, the jack. Question 4. What name is given to the offence of marrying someone while married to someone else? The answer was B, bigamy. Question 5. Which atoll in the Pacific Ocean gave its name to a two-piece bathing costume? B, the bikini. And finally, which former British liner is a tourist attraction in Long Beach, California? The answer is B, the Queen Mary. And now on to some sport. The Brochs are going up. Broxburn Athletic are partying this week after sealing their promotion to the Lowland League with an emphatic 8-1 win over Dalbeattie Star in the second leg of the playoff final, earning a terrific 12-2 aggregate victory. Stevie Pittman's men were backed by a fantastic support at Albion Park last Friday night, and the players delivered with a performance that will live long in the memory. Having won the East of Scotland League crown earlier this month, the club can now look forward to competing in the 5th tier of Scottish football next season. And there's a photograph of the fans and Marky Monroe, who's celebrating the promotion of the club. And my second article is Rice played role in Smith signing. David Martindale has revealed assistant Brian Rice played a pivotal part in the bringing a new signing, Lewis Smith, to Livingston. The Lions snapped up Smith on a 2-year deal from Hamilton Accies last week, ending Smith's 15-year spell with his boyhood club. Smith played under Rice during his stint at Accies and Boss in the Premiership a few years ago, and Lions gaffer Martindale said, "We Lewis Smith is a big signing. Brian Rice played a huge part in helping bring Lewis in. Brian coached him when they were in the Premiership. They've got a great working relationship, and I'm really looking forward to coaching Lewis and seeing what he can do for Livingston. I think he's proved his worth, but Lewis felt he needed a little change, so I'm really happy to get someone with his ability into the building." Smith, who scored for Hamilton in the final of the Championship playoff win over Inverness that sealed promotion, took to social media last week to speak about his move. His post on X read, "This is such a difficult statement to write, and I'm not quite sure where to begin. Hamilton has been such a massive part of my life, from being a fan from birth, to joining the club at age 9, to playing in the first team and winning a trophy and new promotion. It's been really a hard decision, but I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think it's time for me to move on, and I'm really looking forward to embracing a new challenge at Livingston. It's been an absolute roller coaster, and I'm so glad we, that's Accies, were able to end on a high." Now over to Marcy.
Progress with Livy squad. Livy boss David Martindale reckons he's close to having a competitive squad in a tight Scottish Championship next term. Martindale took his summer signings to 7 with the capture of ex-Hamilton Accies winger Lewis Smith and 28-year-old French goalkeeper Jérôme Pryor last week. Livy lost a raft of players at the end of last season as high-profile players like Bruce Anderson, Andrew Shiney and Ayo Obilai have all left, but Shamal George, Stephen Kelly, Michael Nottingham, Scott Pittman, Tete Yenge, Afalele Toto, Samson Lawal, Sean Donnellan and Jamie Brandon are under contract, while Christian Montano has agreed a new draft for this season and they're in talks with Sean Kelly. Martindale said, "We're sitting with good numbers. There are 3 or 4 that are in contract that we need to try and move on. They've been told their game time is going to be limited at best, and it's probably better if they try to find something else. I'm currently talking to 1 or 2 right now, and at that point we'll have a really strong squad going into pre-season. Defensively, we're still looking at a few options. We need to shore up there." Over to Jessica.
Get back to us versus the world mentality. Livy Board's message for Martindale after backing. An article by Paul Thompson. Livingston have confirmed manager David Martindale will remain in charge of the club next season, despite overseeing their relegation from the Scottish Premiership. And the board have urged him to get back to the us against the world mentality that got the club to the top flight in the first place. The Lions finished rock bottom of the Premiership this term, and Martindale had stated his desire to take the team straight back up in the aftermath of a 4-1 defeat to Motherwell, which sealed their fate. And now, in a joint statement from Livingston Chairman John Ward, Chief Executive Dave Black and Chief Commercial Officer John McElvogue, the club has announced Martindale will lead their charge for promotion next season, saying he deserves the opportunity for an overall impressive record during his near decade-long stint at the club. The board admit the decision won't go down well with everyone, but they feel it is in the best interests of the club and urged all fans to back the gaffer. The statement read, "We can confirm that men's first-team manager David Martindale will continue at the helm for our 2024-25 championship campaign. There's no getting away from the fact that this season has been disappointing. Every single member of staff inside the building is hurting with how the years transpired, and we know how full well that the same disappointment and upset is shared amongst our supporters. However, we now have an opportunity to regroup, both on the park and in the stands, but we can only do with everyone pulling in the same direction. David has been involved with the coaching setup here for almost 10 years now. His involvement in the dugout has seen us lift a League One title, win the Premiership playoffs, 2 top 6 finishes, 2 seasons just missing out on the top 6 on the final game before the split, a National Cup final appearance, and a club record 6 consecutive seasons in the top flight. For a club of our size and stature, that is an incredible return and a list of achievements that David deserves huge credit for. As your board, we believe that David has earned the right to remain as first-team manager and have the opportunity to try to steer us back to the Premiership. His commitment and dedication to the club over the years is unrivalled, and whilst that alone can't be the sole drive behind remaining in charge, his qualities as a manager, as a coach and as a leader give us full confidence that David is the man we want in charge of this football club going forward. We are acutely aware of the budget constraints that David was working under this season. Losses in the previous 2 years meant that we had to convince club auditors that we could remain viable in the 2023-24 season, and the only way to do that was to reduce the club's budget across all departments. Such is the nature of football that everyone has an opinion, and some people will have a differing opinion to ours. However, with this decision now made and the hard work continuing off the field, we need our supporters to put this season to bed, understand that as a club it's been an undoubted disappointment to drop a division, but now start to look to the season ahead and the new challenge we face. We believe we have the core of a very good squad, and with the addition of further targets that the manager has identified, we will give ourselves a real good chance of being right in the mix come the end of next season. The Lions have already got down to business for next season, with 7 new signings over the line already. Lewis Smith, Matthew Clark, Liam Soule, Daniel Finlayson, Ricky Corboa, Robbie Muirhead and Jerome Pryor are all on board for the championship campaign. And the statement added, "We're excited at the challenge we face. With that, we'll have a different pressure on all of us next season. But there's a real positive energy within the club that we can take this year of adversity and use that to channel a successful promotion push. Having that same positive energy in the stands from the fan base can make such a vital difference on match day. We need to get back to that united feeling of us against the world, which which was what got us into the Premiership in the first place. Off the field, we have a terrific group of staff who now have multiple years of experience running a Premiership club. We will take that Premiership professionalism into the Championship and look to keep those standards to support a return to the top flight. We ask you all to join us in giving your full backing to the manager, his coaching staff and the players as we look to get back to winning ways, have a successful season on and off the pitch and return the club back to the top flight at the first attempt. To accompany the article, there's a picture which was taken in happier times of David Martindale and former number 2 Dougie Imrie. They're celebrating after beating Celtic in 2021, and the club board want to see the Lions get their fire back next term. Over to Margaret.
Boss pens new deal to try and take Lions back up. An article by Andy McGilvray. David Martindale is staying on as Livingston manager for the next season after being backed by the Lions board to guide them back to the Premiership. And he is saying he is looking forward to trying to win games again after the side were relegated to the Championship. Martindale has signed a 1-year deal to remain as boss after a club statement on Monday confirmed he will remain in post. And the 49-year-old told the Courier, "I'm really looking forward to next season now, going in, playing some different teams, but going into games with a slightly different mindset. We'll be waking up on a Saturday morning thinking we've got a chance of winning that game." That was the case in the Premiership, but the probabilities of that happening were less. As opposed to trying to pick points up, finding ways to win games in the Premiership, we are now going out focusing on how to win games. I want to try and be the manager that tries to take the club back to the Premiership. It takes on new dynamics this year. The budget cuts over the last couple of years have made it extremely difficult to be competitive in the Premiership. We're going into the Scottish Championship. We'll have in and around a top 4 budget, so kind of changes how I see the game. I think we're building a really competitive squad and I'm looking forward to trying to win games again. There's probably 100% of that league that are going into that season trying to get promoted, so it's going to be a really competitive league. An ownership wrangle at Livingston is likely to rear its head with the club announcing that Bacup had bought a controlling interest, only for it to be contested by previous directors who claim they are the rightful owners. Martindale has gone on record to say he would be prepared to walk away should the court case go against Bacup. But he said, "Last year all I did was talk about court cases and I've probably been too candid about that. There is an outstanding court case, but I'm going to take myself out of the situation. I think John Ward, chairman, David Black, chief executive, and John McElvolk, owner, will be the ones that will talk about that now. I just want to focus on being the manager of Livingston, trying to win games and talking about the positive side of the club. There's been a lot of positivity over the years, but I think it has been lost over the last 6 to 12 months in terms of the off-field troubles and on-field performances. I think we need to be pragmatic. Instead of looking at the negatives of relegation, I think we've got to focus on the positives that myself, the staff, players, current and former, kept Livingston in the Premiership for 6 years, and that's never been done before in the club's history. As a group, we've created history, and I think it's important that we focus on the positives and don't look upon the relegation as a negative. Yes, we know it was a poor, challenging season, and we should do better. But I think if anyone is being level-headed, they should really look at the progression the club has made over the last 8 years. This is a potential setback, but it's also a reset to try and go again. And there's a photograph of David Martindale standing with his arms crossed, looking very pensive. Over to Peter.
SPFL kick out non-Scottish clubs from Trust Trophy. Scottish clubs will share a record-breaking prize pot in next season's SPFL Trust Trophy, a competition that will no longer involve teams from outside of Scotland. Last season's final saw Airdrie beat TNS of Wales 2-1 at the Falkirk Stadium, which netted them just £50,000. This season's winner of the competition will net £100,000 as the top rise with £60,000 for the runners-up. An estimated £790,000 in prize money will be shared with clubs for the 2024-25 SPFL Trust Trophy. It's an increase of 58% on the previous competition. Next season's winners will receive a 100% increase in prize money. Further sums are available as facility fees for all live TV games, with the final payout to clubs set to exceed £800,000 for the very first time. The draw for the opening rounds of the SPFL Trust Trophy, which will include Livingston this term, takes place in early July. SPFL Chief Exec Neil Doncaster said, "We're really pleased to announce record prize money for the SPFL Trust Trophy next season. The SPFL Trust have been fantastic supporters of this important cup competition. Their investment and the continuing generosity of James and Morag Anderson is greatly appreciated. We have very much enjoyed the participation of cross-border teams who have competed in 6 seasons of the competition since they first joined in season 2016-17. However, their involvement does further complicate our already congested fixture schedule. Hence, the SPFL Trust Trophy will revert to a Scottish-only competition next season. We are delighted to welcome 5 Highland League clubs and 6 Lowland League clubs into the SPFL Trust Trophy next season. The full schedule of prize monies for the SPFL Trust Trophy is set out below. The winner £100,000, the runner-up £60,000, the losing semi-finalists £40,000, the losing quarter-finals £30,000, fourth round losers £20,000, third round losers £15,000, second round losers £10,000, and the first round losers get £5,000. In addition, each club playing whether home or away in a live televised SPFL Trust Trophy on BBC Alba will receive a facility fee payment of £1,500. The competition will kick off in the midweek of July the 30th to 31st, and the final is due to be held on the weekend of March the 22nd, 23rd, or March 29, 30 in 2025. And back to Heather.
And that brings us to the end of part 4. And we've come to the end of this week's recording, and we hope you have enjoyed it. We also hope you have a good week and enjoy the lovely weather we are having. And if your gala day is this coming week, have a wonderful day. When you have finished listening to the recording, can I remind you to place the USB stick back in the wallet, reverse the label so the cut-off corner is at the top right-hand side, and post back to us as soon as possible. So it's goodbye for the members of Team 6, our engineer John, our readers Margaret, Heather, Jessica, Marcy and Peter. Until the next recording, have a good week.